our marriage relationships. So whether the marriage is at the verge of breaking down or it's broken down, sometimes the couples have gone their separate ways. I believe so much in the power of a marriage union. It can be amended as long as we are ready to put in what it takes to build that home yet again. So amending a broken marriage requires dedication. It requires a lot of patience and a willingness from both partners to address the underlying issues and work towards rebuilding trust and intimacy again. Like I said, it would take a lot. It's hard work. And if you're not ready to put in the work, what are we talking about? That marriage may not stand. It cannot be one-sided because that one person is not married to themselves. You have to carry each other along. You have to always be at least 99% of the time on the same page. Thanks for joining Amy for Jesus. So here are steps that couples can take to amend their marriages, especially if they're at the verge of a breakup. It's very crucial. I believe in marriage. I hope you can take something on board and reflect about it, think about it, and hopefully you're able to help your marriage before it completely break down. So one way is, again, open and honest communication. Open and honest. You have to say it as it is. It's hard sometimes. It's painful to hear certain truths, but it has to be told. Start by having open and honest conversations about the issues that have contributed to the breakdown of that marriage. Don't shy away from it. Don't hide it. Don't suppress it. Don't avoid it. You have to face it head on. Because you don't want to build a house on a crumbling foundation. It will collapse before you even finish, Express your thoughts, your feelings, your concerns, and your desires openly to one another. And please, let's try to always listen actively rather than listen to want to respond. It's never a good thing. Listen actively to your partner's perspective without judgment, without pointing fingers, because everybody has a right to their opinion. And everybody, we don't have to get along all the time. But for the sake of this marriage union we're talking about, you have to really get along. What is your spouse saying? Why are they saying what they're saying? Do you understand what they're saying? Ask them to explain further so you can understand. Because I don't think anyone will be in that marriage and just want it to spoil, want it to break and all that. Their ideas or their values or perception might not be the ideal one, but still hear them out so they don't feel suppressed all the time. You might be the one that thinks quickly on your feet, you problem solver and all of that, and you just neglect your spouse. When there's a problem, you just do it, and they feel left out. They're not feeling like you carry them along. Even if they're not going to contribute to the solution, let them feel part of that solution. And that will promote love and unity in your home. So open and honest communication with one another. Express your feelings, be truthful about it, and explain the kindest way possible. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's amazing what simple communication, can solve. Because if you don't talk, you just sit and assume. Negative assumptions always prevail if you're not careful. Negative assumptions, one assumption to the other, instead of talking about things with your spouse. Don't just sit and assume. Let's open up, speak. Say it as it is, and hopefully your spouse will just understand. They're not mind readers, so if you don't say what's on your mind, they might just not know that they're even doing something wrong in the first place. So again, identify and address the root cause of the issue. Take time to identify the underlying issues. Don't hide away from it that has led to that breakdown of the marriage. It could be poor communication, it could be trust issues, it could be unresolved conflicts, whatever it is, name it. Work together to address the root cause of collaboratively work together to address it, seeking understanding and resolution. You know that the aim to this is for us to have a resolution, not for us to keep fighting ourselves. So if you have it at the back of your mind that, look, I love you, I want to spend the rest of my life with you, I'm willing to do what it takes to make it work, and both of you are feeling the same thing, you will make it work. Thank you, Maura, for joining. Like I said, when I was saying the courses, seek professional help. There's no shame in that. The society sometimes name and shame people because maybe as a man you're trying to seek counseling or therapy. They make you feel you're weak. Why? Who says that? And then when this man messes up, they'll be the first to jump on them. They'll be the first to scrutinize this person. They'll be the first to call them names. And now he's trying to seek help. You're calling him weak. You're calling him names. Please, let's be mindful how we treat each other in this society. Please, let's encourage one another. If you're not going to support me, just leave me be. Don't call me names. Because I want to enjoy my marriage, and that's why I'm seeking help. Some friends, they will tease, especially when you tell them, oh, guess what, I'm going to marriage counseling. They will tease you, and it shouldn't be so. It's a serious matter because lives are at stake here when we're talking about this marriage relationship. So don't just ignore. If for any reason you have to share this with your friends and they don't understand, please do not stop, because you know what you're trying to build. You know what you're trying to achieve. And I pray God will help you to fight all the way for your family, not to break up. So consider seeking guidance from a qualified therapist or a marriage counselor who can provide objective insights and support in navigating that, challenging situation, so you can help rebuild your relationship. Therapy can offer valuable tools, things you never even think of, strategies for improving your communication, resolving conflicts, and rebuilding that trust. That's what therapy is there for. It's not for fun. And things you go through in therapy, you have to practice them. Josephine, you're welcome. So seek professional help before your marriage will break down. Don't think, they're going to shame you, name you, whatever. No, Pinky, thanks for coming. Another way to help your marriage from breaking up is rebuild the trust. Especially the party who has broken that trust. You have a lot of work to do. Thank you so fine. Thanks for joining. Thanks for the heart me. It's amazing. It's amazing. When trust is broken, you will see a side of your spouse you've never seen before, and that's just the truth. But when things were okay, everybody was okay. The moment you go against that rule in marriage, you break that trust, you will not like what will happen. No matter how understanding your spouse is, they will feel hurt. They will feel betrayed. They will feel you've broken that trust. And it will take time to rebuild again. Don't shove forgiveness in their face like they just have to forgive you. It will take time. Rema, thanks for joining. So rebuilding that trust takes time. And you have to be consistent in the effort you're putting in. Both of you, I know they've hurt you, the other spouse, but you have to also find it in your heart to trust again. Be transparent and accountable in your actions. Follow through on your commitment. Please, it's very important. And demonstrate reliability and honesty in your interactions with one another. Trust building activities, you can take part in that. Whatever it is that would help you build that trust again. Get going, get doing. Never mind if people are teasing you, whatever. This is your home. This is your life we're talking about. Because the truth is, you break up with this person, you married this person, they're not okay, whatever, you break up. How many marriages do you want to keep going into? We need to be careful. We need to have a stable life. And that can help us in so many aspects of our lives. So rebuild the trust. And then again, foster emotional intimacy. Remember, we talked about emotional intimacy can break up a marriage. When couples start drifting apart, prioritize emotional intimacy by creating opportunities for meaningful connection between you and your spouse. Okay? Be vulnerable with one another. You should be able to close your eyes and fall, and your spouse will catch you. Be vulnerable with one another. And I hope these points have been able to help so far. Spend quality time together. Engage in activities that both of you enjoy, so you can first start that emotional intimacy, that connection. Something both of you enjoy together. Express appreciation to one another and affection towards each other regularly. Your spouse do not have to do anything superb before you say you appreciate them or you like what they're doing. Sometimes it might be a hard thing to do, but let them know. You might think, they know I appreciate them, they know I love them. But we find it difficult to say to their faces, like, I love you, I care about you. I appreciate you. Things like that. And sometimes you might even say to your spouse, they're not even hearing you. How do you let them hear you? It could be a small gift, something to draw their attention, but just so that they know that you're important. They are important in your life, and you're also important in their lives. So do this regularly, because otherwise you start drifting apart. Before you know, you're like two strangers living in the same house, and then you just feel the best thing is to go your separate ways. And over time, that can happen. So let's be mindful of that. Another thing I'll mention, feel briefly, address individual issues. If you have any issues with your spouse, talk about it. Like I said, communication. Talk about it. Be responsible for your own growth. Do you self-reflect in your marriage? Like, do you from time to time self-reflect? This is what's happening in my marriage. How have I contributed to this? How have I not contributed to it? You know, we need to examine that. And again, cultivate forgiveness. Cultivate forgiveness. Hey, no matter how much your spouse loves you, they would offend you. Trust me. I bet I've offended my husband many times. He's offended me many times. But here we are. We're still moving on. We move, as they say. Forgiveness is key because you will hurt one another. No matter how, maybe once in 10 years or whatever, that will still happen. And if you're not a forgiving type, what's going to happen to that marriage? Practice forgiveness as a way to release resentment. If you don't, this is the person you sleep with, wake up with every day. You just look at them and you just keep resenting them. And over time, it builds to this bitterness, and then bitterness to hatred. Hence why some spouses would, kind of get rid of each other, if you get what I mean. So cultivate the habit to forgive. Focus on letting go of negative emotions and embracing compassion. Embrace empathy towards one another. It's very key. And make a commitment to change. Change that addiction. You're more than that. Get help if you need to. Commit to positive changes in your relationship. Be active. Participate in that activities that bond you two together. Look for ways, means, insights, strategies that will help both of you connect with one another, commit to one another, remind each other if you have to. Remember your commitment. You said you won't do this. What has changed? And also be willing to adapt, be willing to compromise, be willing to let go of the past mistakes in order to move into a healthy marriage relationship for your future, for your present day and the future. Create a healthy and fulfilling marriage for yourself. You can do this together. Talk about it. And then again, practice patience and perseverance. We're not perfect human beings. We know that. Nobody's perfect. No matter how, it's always when you're in the midst of friends, and I say, your wife is so good. Your husband is so good. And then the husband and wife, they're looking good indeed. You're not living with them. You don't know. Practice patience and perseverance. The way people see you, that, you're patient, you're this, are you truly in that relationship? Or is the facade you're painting to the world? So we learn to persevere. We learn to have patience with one another. Build resilience together. Because life will bring ups and downs you have to face together. And like I said, don't face each other. Face it together. And that's the only way you can, help your marriage from breaking down. And lastly, I'll say celebrate progress, especially when there's been a big conflict and it takes time, or it took time to resolve. The moment you're able to resolve, go out on a date, spoil each other, go on that dinner date you've always wanted to go on that short break together. Celebrate that progress. Acknowledge it, celebrate that progress as a couple, no matter how small. Find a way to maybe just candlelight dinner in your living room or something, just to appreciate one another. Recognize it, appreciate your efforts, that both of you are put into rebuilding that relationship, that marriage relationship, and celebrate the milestone and successes along the way. That's why I love it when couples celebrate each year, their anniversary. They plan it. Okay, what do we do this year? Especially the milestones. 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25, and so on. Plan it together. Do something. You know, even if children are there, you can leave your children with in-laws or what have you. Go away for a couple of days and just bond some more. You know, sometimes I remember we said to ourselves, oh, we're going to be every month, we'll make sure we go to the cinema. And we're like, this year we'll start. And January, we went to the cinema. February, I think we went. March. Before you know, March is over. Oh my God, we didn't go. It has to be deliberate. The effort we put in has to be deliberate. If one party is forgotten, the other party should remind the other party. And these are ways we can, you know, so many other ways as well, but I'll limit to that we can help our relationship in our marriages to grow stronger rather than be broken apart. By taking proactive steps to address issues, rebuild trust, and foster intimacy, couples can work towards amending their broken marriage. And they can also create a stronger and more resilient relationship for their present day and their future as well. Because if you leave me here, I could go on and talk and talk and talk. But the truth is, challenges will come to marriage relationships. But how do you face it? Do you face it together or you face one another? Remember, we're trying to build a home. We're trying to build together. So face your battles together. Face it together. Do not face each other. That will not build that marriage relationship. That will not build that relationship. And then when children, big sis, you're welcome. When children are even involved in the matter, you know, it's another thing altogether. The children coming into the marriage relationship will change the dynamics. Can you adjust to the husband who's always had his wife? Now there's a baby. The baby needs attention and the man is always angry. Oh, you don't have time for me anymore. Oh, tolerance, perseverance, patience, and love. Because that woman, she's also getting into a new phase of her life. She's trying to manage looking after a child, a newborn baby, and still trying to manage, you know, being the wife to you. It's going to take a lot. Sit down and talk about things. Where do we go from here? How do we manage our new life instead of fighting each other? Plan together. Sit and talk about it. Oh my goodness, we never talked about this when we were dating. Like when we start having children, you know, everybody would just say, oh, we're going to have 2, we're going to have 4. We just, you know, enjoy the talks and all. But the real deal is not facing the two of you. And you haven't talked about it. How do we manage this new life with a baby? I don't know my left from my right. And then maybe this man is like, oh, all the time you're with the baby, you've neglected me. The woman will feel bad. And we're not meant to make each other feel bad. Rather, we need to understand. You come in, go carry the baby, tell her to sit down, put her feet up. She will be happy. And whilst you're trying to attend to her, you're attending to the baby as a husband as well. Trust me, that woman will appreciate you for that support. It goes a long way. Sometimes there's the little things we don't do that becomes a mighty mountain like that. And then it escalates into what is not. And it's like, oh, you don't want to understand there's a new baby. And I could go on and on. But I want to hear from us today. What do you think? What do you think are the causes of marriages breaking down in our society today? And also, why do you think some couples, they leave things to get really bad before addressing it? Why do they do that? I want to hear from you. Corey, you're welcome. Let's see who is online to tell us 1 or 2 things today. So I'm going to invite quite a number. I want to hear from. What do we think? What do we think are the causes of marriages breaking down in our society today? What causes it? Maybe it's not even part of the things that I've mentioned. Maybe you have another thing you want to chip in. I really want to hear from you.